Hey, shalom, shalom. Give us 1 second. We're going to double check to make sure that the streams are live. We're about to go live for our weekly show, the Elder Show here in Chicago. So give me 1 second. Bible shut. Matter of fact, I'll check myself. Check it yourself. Yep. Yeah, I'm live out here. Mine. Did you check the Elder Barber Shop? Did anybody else go live? Well, we should be good, Elder.
Okay, Khan. Shalom. We're the brothers of the Great Millstone, a branch here in Chicago. And first and foremost, we want to give all praises, all honor, and glory unto
Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakarash.
Double honors into the apostles, double honors into the elder bishops. Salutations to all our fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. All right, the would-be judges, the scattered elect. All right, the would-be judges, the 144,000, and the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth among the heathen nations that have the appearance of those heathen nations. This is not a black thing, right? And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, we say shalom. And this is going to be a response to a response that the beloved brothers ICR and Gabar Yahweh did earlier. I was watching it live. I didn't catch the whole thing. I caught most of it.
Good show.
And it really angered me.
Yes.
With this Matt Walsh and his blatant racist rant that was done by the assistant president, who no one elected, who's controlling policy right now. He was on Elon Musk, that weirdo's platform. And basically, he said that the natives were they were savages, that they had been here for 20 years. They were primitive. 20,000 years. They had done nothing with the land.
Animal sacrifice.
That they were sacrificing each other. That they were raping the colonists. You know, the settlers as they were coming. They were murdering, raping, and eating the settlers. So basically, all he did was did a whole bunch of projection. He projected and he twisted it and said, so he is in no way apologizing for colonization. And all this was said to justify rape, rob, murder, and land theft.
Yes.
Because that's exactly what he saw, even the so-called white man, which Matt Walsh is, and his constituents. That's what they are. They're murderers and land thieves trying to justify their heinous crimes against humanity. Just like now, you know, we're at the fall of Esau Edom. I'd like to actually play something for you, brothers, just to set the tone. And this is what the World Court is saying about the Israelis right now in the land of Israel. So I'm gonna. So here we go. It's a 2-minute video, so I'm gonna play it for you, brothers.
The watershed moment for Palestine, for justice and for international law. Israel's occupation has been declared unlawful by the World Court, which has stipulated that it must be terminated completely and as rapidly as possible. The court also found that illegal Israeli occupation violates the UN Charter, human rights, and international humanitarian law. The court further unequivocally declared that all Israeli settlements in the occupied Palestinian territory are illegal and must be dismantled, and that all Israeli settlers must be evacuated. The court declared that Israeli illegal occupation not only violates but eviscerates the Palestinian people's right to self-determination in their own land, including the right to their own state. This ruling couldn't be more timely or sorely needed. The Palestinian people have endured unbearable suffering and injustice for decades. This ruling is a vindication of their steadfastness and perseverance. This right must no longer be denied or deferred. The court made clear that the Palestinian people are the only sovereign in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, and that the international community is under an obligation not just to reaffirm the Palestinian people's right to self-determination, but to see to it that this right is implemented immediately. All states and the UN are now under obligation not to recognize the legality of Israel's presence in the occupied Palestinian territory.
Now, mind you, the United States is no longer part of the UN Charter. So the European Union and UN Charter is saying that the Israelis no longer have sovereignty. They're saying that the Israelis need to leave Palestine immediately. All the settlements are illegally. They have no settlements. You got to understand, this is a great day. All right, because that's a house complete. The Palestinians don't belong there either. That's not their land. That's our land.
That's right.
Right. But it's a beautiful thing to see that the world community is coming up against these tyrants, against these wicked ass people, man. These deniers, because the truth of the matter is that the Israelis was the last colonization of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. That was his last colonial movement. All right, where he would, where he could bring, he would bring in the tyrannical rule over the people that's out already living in the land and take all the resources and the wealth. All right, and that's what he did. And it's the same thing that he did to Gad. All right. So can somebody get Jeremiah 50 and 33? Because the thing is that when Gad and Reuben were being oppressed, Judah was being oppressed at the same time.
That's right.
As a matter of fact, history even shows you, AI even tells you that they were, matter of fact, somebody can look it up. AI even tells you that the Gadites, the natives, were taken into slavery and sent to to Europe and to the islands. And they were often taken on the same ships as the Negroes. It was called the triangular slave trade, per example. Today, when you have, when the trucking industry was vibrant, when it wasn't failing, all right, but a truck usually drove cross country, delivered a load, all right. Now, a trucking company didn't waste the money on just letting that truck drive back across country back to its main hub empty. They would bring another load. They would do a triangular thing. They would go to a destination, drop off a load, go to a new destination, drop off a load, pick up a load, and then bring that load back to somewhere near where their hub is. Exactly. Makes sense. The slave ships did the same thing. Right. All right. The slave ships would pick up slaves, whether they were bringing them from West Africa, they would drop them off in the islands, or they would bring them to the America, pick up. And usually, what they did was they would go to the Americas, and then they would pick up natives, or from the islands and pick up natives, and then bring them back to Europe. As a matter of fact, Seville, Spain, became the reverse slave capital of the world, because from Seville, Spain, Israelites from the islands, Israelites from America were taken to Seville, Spain, and from Seville, Spain, they were dispersed all across Europe and the so-called Middle East, which is Western Asia.
I saved the quotes, but I pulled up the quotes from Columbus. But before we even get to that, to the point you touched, the first slaves went to Spain, like you just said. This is the Gilder Lehrman Institute of American History. All right, and this is Christopher Columbus's letter to Ferdinand and Isabella, 1493. Okay, for nearly 5 months, Columbus explored the Caribbean, particularly the islands of Juana, which is Cuba, and Hispaniola, Santo Domingo, before returning to Spain. He left 39 men to build a settlement called La Navidad in present-day Haiti. Remember, he only left 39 men to build this. It's going to be important to what this video is going to say, right? He left 39 men to build. He also kidnapped several Native Americans, they say between 10 to 25, to take back to Spain. Only 8 survived. Columbus brought back small amounts of gold as well as native birds and plants to show the richness of the continent. All right. So right off the rip, the first thing Columbus did was take people back to Spain. So the slave trade started back then. All right. What they say, 1619. Northern Kingdom first, Judah worst. It started with Columbus, and then only got worse than that. All right, then more slaughter came, more XYZ. All right,
Right, yeah, because they was taking the Northern Kingdom and selling them to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, the Northern Kingdom. You know, Northern Kingdom. They showed you that in the Bourgeois series.
Okay, so
In that movie, the Bourgeois. Yeah. All right. Yes. Yeah, quote that source you about to.
Okay, so this is Indian slave Almond Willow Auburn.
Wait, say it again, slower, brother.
Almond, spelled ALL.
Matter of fact, could you bring it in front of the camera?
Yes,
and
sir.
bring it in front of the elders' camera as well,
yes.
just so the people can see the source.
All right, so we'll go to page 56. To jump down here, it says in the same year, it's talking about the Pequot Nation, King Philip War, happened in 1675. All right, it says right here in this, it said in the same year, 1675, Indians probably from on the coast of Maine were landed as slaves at Fayal, one of the Azores. Again, Azores over there by over there off the coast of northwest Africa in Spain. All right, way out there. 15 Indians were captured and sent to Boston, tied net to net like the galley slaves, much against the will of the populace. They were given a trial. All were fighting quickly except for two. All right, I'm gonna go down here. Let's get down here. 57 said, with the close of the war after Philip's death, many of the Indian chiefs were executed at Boston, Plymouth. Most remaining chiefs, and with their captive father, was sold and shipped off as slaves outside the colonies. Those transported were carried to various parts: the Spanish West Indies, Spain, Portugal, Bermuda, Virginia, Azores. Not all Indian lives were spared were transported during the men, rather the women and children were thus disposed of. Though such not always the case, one find instance that, like Philip's wife and son, when women and children were transported, other instances where grown male Indians were retained in colony and sold to the colonies. Not only were the Indians who themselves engaged in war sold as slaves at home abroad, but the wives and children of the captive there were seized and co-signed slavery.
Hey, the movie Pocahontas. That's not a movie.
Right.
That really happened, and it wasn't no nice shit.
No.
Her husband was murdered, and she was taken back to Europe. Just like we read about Columbus taking them off the
her
island.
murder, and her husband was murdered, and her son. And she was taken captive and forced. John Smith, it wasn't some romance between her and John Smith, but he just wooed her. And she went around the forest singing, songs of love. And, she was forced. Her husband and her child was murdered, and she was forced to be a sex slave to John Smith and taken back to Europe where she died. That was the true story of Pocahontas. She was trafficked she was trafficked, might I add, by Elon Musk's people, by Matt Walsh's people, by the same murderous, racist colonizers that he tried to justify, and when he said all those lies on X, when he was on, whatever that show was, that platform he was on.
Yeah. This is Revelation 18 and 10. Standing afar off for fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour was thy judgment come. So this place will be destroyed. So let's keep going, right? And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, and of pearls and fine linen, and purple and silk and scarlet, and all dyeing wood, and all manner of vessels of ivory, and all manner of vessels of most precious wood, and of brass and iron and marble. These are all things, nowadays are imported to America. But world trade got big based off of what? Slavery in America, right?
Free world trade.
And cinnamon, and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour.
Now wait a minute.
Let's go with Joel chapter 3.
That all that was going on, what you read about, then that's clearly that these people were not ignorant, that these people had a language, that they had businesses, that they had a structure, a government structure, in order for all this to be happening.
Yeah.
And what Matt Walsh said was that these people they had no speaking language, and they had no written language and all. And like Arala said earlier, before we went live, that the Bakri stones disprove that. The Hebrew was found all over America from, as a matter of fact, Walsh is a Jewish name, so we already know where he stands. All right, but from Canada to Brazil, man. But go continue, Bob.
I guess some too. But
And cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. So this has been a big part of the world trade for the longest, slavery.
yes.
All right. In fact, that was the biggest part because
Souls of men.
that was the biggest part of it.
Yep.
All right. Not only did you get slaves and you sold them, that's his market itself, but also you got free and cheap labor.
Yep.
All right, which did help you get and produce all these other things. Now, of course, it's going to the import, but the point is, human trafficking has been a big part of this white man's legacy, even to this day. Human trafficking is big business even to this day.
Yes.
In all these countries, the Chinese, Russia, they still send. They get sent over here, and of course, they get sent over there.
They make movies about it. You know that movie. Then they have matter of fact, Taken is 3 series deep now, right?
I think
it's these three for sure.
It's 3 series deep, man. So that's some real shit, man.
Hostel. You ever saw the movie Hostel?
Yeah.
And it
I
showed
saw one of them.
It showed how it was on that side of the world, and then they did on this side of the world as well. You know, they kidnap you. You can be sold just so the motherfucker get their rocks off to murder you.
Yes.
Shit is wild, man. Souls of men.
Another thing, just mentioning how the people in them docks, a lot of times they find a lot of children being something that was contained.
Yeah, they be fucked up.
If you could, it'd be some videos, and the guy be saying like, man, we can't say nothing about it, because they get fucked up if they mention the kids on the screens that's coming from the train car.
Let us out,
Yeah.
Ayúdame. They say in Spanish, help me.
Right. And another thing about the when they did that strike, they want to peep. They like, look, we keeping your secrets, nigga. We know what's going on and what's going on these docks. They like, man, we want some of that money too. So because they keeping their mouth closed, So a lot of that shit,
fuck them.
Yeah, they pretty much full of shit.
If I see some shit like that, fuck it, I'm telling on everybody.
Yeah, I guess some too. This an article. You got a script?
No, let them bring that scripture out.
Right. They have Joel chapter 3 verse, and it's still going on today. Joel chapter 3 verse 4. No, verse 3. It says, and they had cast lots for people, and had given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. Some of that trade, trade for food, wine, and everything.
Right, which I'm mad about. I'm so mad about that because that's the second time I used that movie, and they try to hit me with some skin shit.
Right.
The movie is still on YouTube. Basically, they said that child endangerment or child, the P word.
You got the YouTube
because there was a image from the screenshots, of a Edomite male holding a naked baby. But like I said, but you got breastfeeding videos that is not instructional. Just women straight up pushing out sexual shit and all kind of other shit, on the YouTube. All right, when a woman is doing a sensual video, of her breastfeeding a baby, but then her other breast is all in the camera. Ain't no baby on there.
She got makeup and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So she basically what she's doing is sexualizing herself and that child. But yet a video that's speaking about slavery and the things that went on with it, they offended at that. So and I just find that so ridiculous though. I just have to mention it because Lord's will, I'm gonna do a video on it tomorrow. He said it and it made me think about it. I'm still mad about it. And I'm gonna use the images from my video and things that are already on the YouTube that's not offensive to them for whatever reason, but because my video contained images that are less offensive than those, and it's speaking on their history, they got a problem with it.
Ain't that on YouTube?
And it's on fucking YouTube. And like I said, then the Google images, YouTube owns Google. Google or what? They're the same fucking entity.
Right.
So how you gonna strike me for what you put up for me to be able to even research? I use your research, now you strike me for using it.
A lot.
You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Exactly.
Because because we exposing it. Because
Of
a lot of
course.
because they don't. Cause
We're
a lot
using
of
it in a
Jake-
righteous way.
right? Because a lot of Jake don't know that movie is up there.
Yeah.
A lot of Jake don't even know that movie
And
exists.
and that movie is very vexing to watch.
I can never get through it.
Bro, I've
I
gotten
watched
to
it. I've watched
but
it
it's
twice over the last
Yeah.
17 years.
It's hard.
It's difficult.
It's hard.
rough. As a matter of fact, it's hard for me to go even just watch the video that Matt Walsh talking because if I can't put my hands to shut his mouth and to
He was very proud in the
Yes.
lies and the racist rant that
Yes.
went on, and being proud of the rape, robbery, and murder that his people did.
so nonchalant.
And right,
All these
and then
primitive
all
niggas.
the lie, basically these primitive ass niggas,
Yeah.
these primitive tree niggas over here in America, they needed us to come in and rape, rob, murder them, and make their place better. Meanwhile, the Gadites and the Reubenites are still on fucking reservations, living in modern day with no running water, and then you got dumbass people say, well, they got the casinos. No, nigga, white people got the casinos. The real Gadites ain't getting money for that.
$5 Indian.
Right, them $5 Indians on that list are getting the money from those casinos, and those are so-called white people. All right, go ahead, brother. Finish what you were reading.
No, I'll finish.
And I got a couple. You had an article.
You got a
too?
couple scriptural
I had an article.
because we all got an article. I'm sitting on a couple,
Yeah.
but bring yours out, brother. And then whatever
Yeah.
scriptures come from it.
So I had to go to DuckDuckGo to find this because when you go to the information, because they say
You'll
that the
suppress
first Negro slaves came from West Africa, but that's not true. They came from Spain.
That came from Spain.
The
You
Ivory
lying pieces
Coast.
of
You
shit.
know what I'm saying? So it says did slavery start in Spain? It said did slavery start in Spain? Yes, slavery did start in Spain. The history of
But
Spanish-
usually AI, Salakia. But usually AI would tell you
Huh.
if you question it.
But I asked it.
The accent, right?
Yeah,
It's
you gotta
like
ask
it's-
a certain way.
It's like it. Going back to the movie I, Robot, and the whole thing about him trying to find out who killed. He
You had
said
to ask
he
the
said you
question.
have to ask. He had to ask Google basically. And this is before Google. That was how Esau was projecting. You have to ask the question the right way.
Right.
If you don't, he was going to say no. And the same thing when you go on Google. If you go on Google and ask a particular question, they will send your ass the fuck off. But if you ask it the right way, they'll give you exactly what you're looking for.
Right.
Come on, but go ahead, brother.
It said yes. It said yes. Slavery did start in Spain, which is talking about the Negro part of it. The history of Spanish enslavement.
So what he just read proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Negroes were rooted in Spain and Portugal.
Yep.
But that's glossed over when it comes to Western history,
Yes.
right? Because now you got to explain that. And so proving when we say, yeah, we was kings and shit, motherfuckers, we were.
Right.
Well, Matt Walsh, you piece of shit. I pray to the Lord. Let me get my hands on him when that time comes. Because, hey, look, when the Israelites come down off of them chariots, man, when we come down off of them chariots, it's going to be Edomites in the other parts of the world that are still going to be intact, and they're going to try to mount their militaries and they militias to try to fight against it.
To know
And we look forward to it, all right? Because we're gonna want to test out them new bodies, them new superior Hancock fucking bodies anyway. Now, unlike Hancock, we're not gonna get weak when we get around each other.
Right. So as our powers get together. Oh, no, it neutralizes.
Well,
Right.
strong. That's when you get strong.
Right, when I was with my brother, and all of a sudden we both vulnerable, getting our ass beat. Now we together, it's even worse for you.
It says the enslavement of Africans began in the 15th century with Portuguese captain Anteo.
Okay, so let's correct that right away. The Portuguese and the Spanish Negroes that were there were not fucking Africans, you lying pieces of shit.
That's right, bro.
They were Israelites
Yeah.
with different race from the Hamitic Africans, the actual Africans who are Hamites. The Israelites that were refugees in Africa from Jerusalem. And I've even heard the AI speak on that. But go ahead.
It says Anteo Goncalves and Nuno Tristeo captured Africans in 1441. Spain began to trade slaves in the 15th century. As this trade reached its peak in the 16th century, Spanish colonists started importing enslaved Israelites.
And how is that? While you read that, let me expound on some history. In the book From Babylon to Timbuktu, on page 84, it tells you that when the Israelites were fleeing the Roman persecution, when they were fleeing the Roman persecution of Titus and Vespasian,
Millions.
all right, in the millions, that they fled into West Africa, but they also went into Europe and into Asia. So basically, and Rome fell a couple hundred years later, and the Israelites were ruling in those places. And when we say that, this historical evidence that he's reading is evidence that what we're speaking is true.
That's right.
Right? Because now he's talking about the Negroes that were ruling in Spain and Portugal. How did they get to that position? Well, I just explained it to you. When the Israelites scattered, all right? Go ahead.
It says Spanish colonists started importing enslaved Israelites from the Iberian Peninsula to their Santo Domingo colony.
Now, Iberian Peninsula, it makes up of Ireland and Scotland. That's the Iberian Peninsula. So all right. So they're not fucking Africans. All right. Once again, Matt Walsh, you are not the Brits, you are not the Scots, you are not the Irish, you are not the fucking Vikings. You lying pieces of shit. And that's what the so-called white man is. He is a lying pieces of shit who projects his own murder, his own racism, all right, on his victims, so that he's justified in doing the wickedness that he does.
And
Salakia, go ahead.
Salakia, that's Salakia, brother. The word Iberia it's the same word as Iberia.
Ibar.
Goes back to the same as Ibar from the past. The Iberian Peninsula was basically, you can just say nigger peninsula.
Right.
It was black peninsula.
Yeah,
when you go to Igbo, the reason why they go in Nigeria, they even admit, when you go back to the teachers, they'll say when they first came and so-called discovered the Igbo.
When they used to write Igbo, they wrote it with an H.
And it was in Hebrew.
It was like Igbo. So it was
Igbo. They were saying Igbo, and in Igbo, Ibar, Ibo, all that goes back to Ibar, which is from the past, which is Hebrew.
As a matter of fact, in that ancient, now you stay with that article you was reading about the Bible shop. King James, when he came on the scene, King James united Britain, Ireland, and Scotland, the Iberian Peninsula coast, and France. All right, he was the king of them all, because all what he did was he stopped Jake from gang banging on each other.
Yes,
the same shit that Gad and Reuben were doing to one another. Well, mostly Gad here in the Americas, with the sacrificing of each other and killing each other and fighting each other,
trying to dominate.
They were gang banging on each other, and Esau's gang banging too. All right, they don't really profile the white gangs, but there are lots of white gangs, not just in the prisons, but on the streets too. All right, and but yeah, they were gang banging, and King James put an end to that. All right, by letting uniting those countries and look dummies. He was like, "We all the same people, you stupid asses. Stop killing each other." All right, but go ahead.
It said colonists started importing enslaved Israelites from the Iberian Peninsula to their Santo Domingo colony in 1501.
Santo Domingo. Now, also, when you learn about the history of Oliver Cromwell and his brother, they were charged with the duty of removing all the Negroes from Scotland and Ireland in the 1600s, and then they sent most of them to the islands, to Jamaica and the island of Montserrat. That's why in Jamaica, so many streets have Scottish and Irish names.
That's right.
All right. And the people in Montserrat speak with an Irish dialect to this fucking day.
And now you mentioned that.
I even said fucking like a damn Irish.
Exactly. And the funny part is that the islands from all that you just mentioned, from Trinidad to St. Lucia and all of them, majority of them send Jake over to London and Europe. And if you look at the Jake that's over in London, Europe, most of their roots go back to Jamaica, go back to Montserrat, St. Lucia, and all of that. And they have, and when I was over in Jamaica, Jamaica. When I was in London, living in London, that was almost that whole patois that they speak to is that Jamaican patois. It's that same vibration. You can understand them. It's
a lot of Benjamites. It's a lot of, and that's mostly the tribe of Benjamin. Mostly Benjamites, and they all throughout those islands. And there's a lot of them over in London as well. But continue.
It says, and in Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Dutch traders systematically purchased large number of Israelites.
That's where we get the word Moreno from.
Right.
When you look, as a matter of fact, somebody look at it in the Etamon online. that word mareno in the etymology dictionary is going to tell you that it is a Jew, or a converso Jew or Christian from Portugal, Spain during the time of the 1500s.
And it's
All right.
funny because you go to Belize, it's also from the same said Jamaican island,
Which is the only English-speaking place in all of South America, by the way.
And Belize, majority of the Belizeans speak Spanish.
They speak Spanish too, but they speak English.
Yeah.
It was called British Honduras. They speak a lot. They speak English.
And so just letting you know that the commonality to going back to their roots. And I had one of my best friends back in LA when I was growing up, going to school out there. He was from Belize, straight nigga, and he was just fluent in Spanish. Like, it just wooed me because it's like, so I'm from Belize. I was like, God damn, and you gave me the breakdown.
It's right. It said, and it does trade a systematically purchase large number of Israelite people. If it's, I'm not gonna say after. It's an Israelite people to be enslaved in the American colonies, beginning in the 16th century. So the Israelites, the Southern Kingdom, was already being enslaved in the 15th century in Portugal, Spain. That's where it started at.
Right.
And then it moved to the western coast of Africa. The whole deal was
then it went to America,
to the Americas,
to the islands,
right,
and to the Americas, and then to the west coast. So we get Luke 12 and 2 real quick, and I want to read this one. Get that Luke 12 and 2, Bible shot.
You take the video yet?
They seen
The video of Walsh.
Yeah.
I haven't. Yeah, we can.
It's in the orders room.
Yeah, we can put it in there and find the spot. Somebody.
This is the book of Luke.
Okay.
We got Luke 12 and 2.
I got it. Okay. This is Luke 12 and 2. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known.
Okay, this is from a Google search engine. Native American slavery is a piece of history of slavery that has been glossed over.
Mm-hmm.
Fisher said between 1492 and 1880, between 2 and 5.5 million Native Americans were enslaved in the Americas, in addition to 12.5 African slaves. So, and they know that they weren't fucking Africans, they were Israelites, and so were the natives, they were Israelites. So these are the Israelite people, man. Hold that thought, brother. Hold it. I don't want you to forget it. But in 1682, in Virginia, a year after the so-called white man labeled himself white, all right, he labeled the natives and the Negroes and the African slaves Negroes, one people. A lot of Native Americans were reclassified as Negroes, all right, because they were one people. They were declared to be one people because they fucking were. And Esau Edom, Matt Walsh's piece of shit ass,
Right.
his people, man, he pissed me the fuck off.
Man, I was so mad. Bro.
Yeah, because it just made me want to smack him, not like this, but like this.
Dang,
all right,
backhand, that hurt.
Man, twice. Pow, pow.
And with the rings on,
right? No, I got a lot of rings.
I'm not talking about them type of rings. I'm talking about rings for smacking.
But nevertheless, man, he was a lying piece of shit, projecting that Edomite racism of what he did onto the victims. Just like the Israelis are the victim villains. They're the really villains, always playing a fucking victim.
They were primitive, so we needed
anti-Semitic bullshit. All right? Well, let me go into the article. Salaki, brother. It says, colonial enslavement of Native Americans included those who surrendered too. The study at Brown University's historians finds that the Native Americans who surrendered during the King Philip's War were sold into slavery with long-lasting effects. An image from 1595 depicting the conflict between Native Americans in Mexico and Spanish colonists led to Francisco's Montego, courtesy of John Carter Brown Library at the Brown University. Providence, Rhode Island, Providence, RI, Brown University, a study by Linford D. Fisher, Associate Professor of History at Brown University, finds that Native Americans, including non-combatants who surrendered during King Philip's War to avoid enslavement, were enslaved at nearly the same rate as the captured combatants. There is no negotiating with this Edomite, man. And then this is where it said Native American slavery is a piece of history it's a piece of history of slavery that has been glossed over. All right, so for you BIs out there, you black onlys, The Native Americans were enslaved with Negroes,
Come on, brother.
fulfilling the scripture. Did we read Deuteronomy 50 and 33?
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah.
No, we didn't read it.
Could you read it, Bob Kushab, real quick?
This Jeremiah chapter 50. And yeah, we go straight to the 33. I'm gonna start at 31.
Go ahead.
This is Jeremiah 50:31. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud. I'm not gonna apologize.
That's Matt Walsh. Go ahead, brother.
That is a spirit. That's what
I'm not apologizing for colonization.
Actually, I'm kind of happy, but I'm kind of proud of that. He said he was proud of the fact of where the fuck they came from.
It was a great establishment for you. A great, what did he say? What is the verbiage that he used? Accomplishment.
Yeah.
Piece of shit.
To go take care of
travel the ocean, to have to travel land through all this water.
And he don't understand it as prophecy.
Exactly.
That the Lord brought Esau, Edom over here to be a whooping stick to the disobedient Israelites. But what he didn't, acknowledge the fact that manifest destiny has a part fucking too.
Yes.
And part two is that the shit get reversed on you, man. Right? You gotta pay for what you did.
Rewind and breathe.
Right? Go ahead, brother.
Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts. For thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all round about him.
Right, because you're gonna get raised up, man, and videos like this are gonna help. That's why they hate us and try to delete and demonize us simply for speaking the truth.
That's right.
And we should be fucking that. How could you? The scriptures clearly say in the Holy Bible, right? Maybe not in the Quran, maybe not in the fucking Talmud, but in the Bible it tells you that wisdom make of a wise man mad. You can't learn this history and not be angry.
That's right.
You can't.
And then Esau will push the narrative. Oh no,
you're hateful,
and you should forgive. You should forgive and let go. You know what I'm saying?
No, then let go of all the land. Right. Let go of all the bank accounts. All right, you let go. Until you're ready to do it, shut the fuck up. Read, brother.
Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel, the northern kingdom, which would be the natives and the Latins, and the children of Judah, which would be Judah, so-called Negroes, and like the islands like Jamaicans, Haitians, right? The southern kingdom, were oppressed together. And all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. So this lets you know that the oppression that we shared would be captivity. And we will go through this together. So that's why it's called a triangular slave trade. It was taking the northern kingdom first, starting with Columbus. Then they started bringing us over. They supplanted Jake in Spain, Portugal, started bringing them over here, taking over the damn throne, shipping natives back. All right. Then they start getting us off the west coast of Africa. Man.
Yeah, so all those beautiful buildings that you like to go take pictures of when you're in Portugal and Spain, those were built by what you call niggers.
That's right. And the castles.
They weren't built by fucking white men.
That's right.
All right, a so-called white man.
Yeah, that's right. Right? Means black.
Those buildings and all those places in Florence that are so beautiful were built by so-called Negroes.
That's right.
All right.
And if I may,
that's real history. Matt Walsh.
That's right.
Fucking Elon Musk, you piece of shit.
That's right.
Assistant president.
That's
the non-unelected assistant president of Babylon. But go ahead.
That's a great point. Now, when you said Florence, you probably said something in jest, maybe serious. He said Florence in Normandy. It's the movie with Martin called The Black Knight.
Yeah.
And he went back in time. Now he was saying Florence in Normandy because California. Because he was from. And back in time, he said Florence. They thought, oh, Florence in Normandy? Like, you from here.
Right.
And they kept calling him the Moor. They kept saying the Moor, the Moor, the Moor.
Yeah.
And then Martin was like, soon enough, they started getting offended at this word Moor. He was simply calling him black.
Yes.
Just like nigger just means black.
That's how soon I'm gonna get offended at it.
I got the definition of nigger. The definition of nigger, it tells you in the definition in the Winston Simplified Dictionary Encyclopedic Edition with biblical references. It tells you that the definition of nigger is simply that it is now as a contentious term, that it wasn't a contentious term once upon a time. All right, it became a contentious term during the time of slavery.
Yep.
All right. But prior to that, it was just a description. It wasn't a negative. It didn't have any negative connotation to it. It was simply a description. Right. Now it's a very negative connotation to it because people don't know the history behind it.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So and it tells you that now a contemptuous term because of slavery. All right. But it simply was if you would describe it as the nigger, it was just simply meant the Moor,
Yeah.
the dark skinned person, the brown skinned person.
Yeah,
Right. Which were highly favored and sought after in the ancient world, by the way. Right.
Yeah, that's why melanin still costs its weight in gold. Man.
Exactly.
Melanin is expensive. It's more expensive than gold.
More than this way to go.
It's more than gold.
You dumb niggas in California, Issachar, so-called Mexicans, and Judah, so-called black, them dumbass killing each other, and then selling your own damn melanin shit.
What do you think they do with all your babies when you
Boredom.
sluts that keep getting pregnant by different dudes go murder them babies? Whether you're brown or so-called black, what do you think they're doing with it? They're taking your babies and they're using that melanin. They're using all the murdered Israelites. All right, exactly.
I got
Esau he let no crisis go to waste, including you slutty women that keep murdering your children, keep lying with all these different men. All right, and then and then getting mad and crying when someone tries to take their right away from you.
no, you got to I got something. It's not a scripture. Just go.
Well, let me finish this part. I was still reading. It says Native American slavery is a piece of history, all right, that has been glossed over. Fisher said between 1492 and 1880, between 2 and 5.5 million natives were enslaved in the Americas, in addition to 12.5 million Israelite slaves. While natives have been forced into slavery and servitude as early as 1636, it was not until the King Philip's War that the natives were enslaved in large numbers. Fisher wrote in the study in 1675 to 1676. War pitted Native American leader King Philip, also known as Metacom, and his allies against the English colonial settlers. So there were wars fought among Esau Edom over who would control, who would get these native slaves.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Why are we not taught this? All right. And these natives were speaking Hebrew.
That's right.
All right. And they were reading and writing and speaking in Hebrew. And the evidence is, as a matter of fact, the Smithsonian Institute Museum tried to cover that up, and they deemed that any articles of history prior to 1783 would not be put out. And so what was included in that was all the stuff that was put in the basement with the evidence of the Hebrew speaking and the Hebrew writing of the Native Americans, that liars like Matt Walsh, who your assistant president Elon Musk supports, all right, will push the lie that these people had no language, no government, and no stability, and that's a fucking lie.
Well,
they had intricate cities, intricate metropolitan areas with government, laws, and everything. All right.
Well, since you said that, that's a spirit. So I typed in the question on Google so y'all can answer it. Did Moors trade with natives? Is my question, which you're going to answer to. And y'all said the same thing. Yes. Historical accounts suggest that Moors, particularly those in the Iberian Peninsula and North Africa, did engage in trade with indigenous populations, including Native Americans.
Wow.
And there are some similarities between their cultures. They already be the same people.
What?
Right?
We're saying that there's similarities between the Moors culture and the Native American culture.
That's right.
I wonder what that is. The law, statutes, and commandments, you lying pieces of shit.
Yep.
Message.
You some racist ass, red ass Edomites that call yourselves white.
Yep.
All right. And you're being exposed, Matt Walsh. All right. And I pray that you see this video.
So they had to have languages to do trade with the Moors of the Iberian Peninsula, North Africa.
Exactly. They were just ooking and booking it, as the elder would say.
Right.
Ooking and booking it and figuring out what the fuck that okay. Oh, I see.
This is what you said.
You want this gold for that, for these oils in it. Okay. They just ooking and booking in this shit. All right? Fuck out of here, you lying pieces of shit.
Some historical accounts, like those from the Moorish times, suggest that Moorish traditions and practices, including clothing, weaving, and even hammocks, were present among Native Americans in the Americas. And it says Columbus's observations. Christopher Columbus and his son Fernando noted similarities between woven cotton towels and clothing of Native Americans and those used in West Africa and by Moors.
Proving everything we just said. The slave in Rudolph R. Windsor's book on page 84, it said that the slave markets were full of black Israelite slaves. And that over 1 million of them fled into West Africa. All right. And so read that part again, Bob.
Christopher Columbus and his son Fernando noted similarities between woven cotton towels and clothing of Native Americans and those used in West Africa and by Muslim Moors.
So, hey, look, the so-called white man glossed over this truth, but basically what he did was he just did it. Did somebody get the council, the Psalms 83, and then Benji, you can finish that. Somebody get that Psalms 83 Bob Kushab real quick, because there was a collective effort by the heathen nations to hide our culture and hide the truth. All right.
This is Psalms 83rd chapter, starting at the top. Keep not thy silence, O Yahweh. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head.
So let you know that there's enemies. The Most High, Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, has enemies. Everybody thinks God is love and God is just so cool with everything on the planet. The Lord says that He has enemies.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy enemies.
And that also denotes that there's a hidden people that nobody has. If something is hid, you don't know.
Yeah, it's the Isaiah 11, the outcasts of Israel that didn't know they were Israelites.
And the Lord says there is someone hidden that He calls His children, and they're hidden.
So like in Benny House, I said he come for the lost sheep
Keyword.
of the house of Israel.
And if you're lost, how you know your way home?
Right.
How you know who you are?
Right.
And how you know anything?
And that proves who Paul, the Gentiles, were Israelites, because they was lost Israelites in Greco-Roman culture.
God. And shalom to all my brothers and sisters on the comment board. All right. Shalom.
They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation.
What's the only group of people on the planet right now to this day that has no nation for themselves? Chinese got China, Russians got Russia, Uzbekistan got Uzbekistan. You go to the smallest tribe of Ham, he got his own shit.
Right.
You go to the smallest tribe of any other place, they got their own shit. All the niggas got the white man.
All them niggas in the stands got the stands.
Yeah, everybody got stand. Everybody got something.
Right.
But we got the white man.
Kazakhstan, the white. You know.
Especially in don't think the Mexicans, the Israelites, because in Mexico, the ones who ruling are Spaniard, which is Edomites.
All throughout South America,
right?
Not just
right.
When you go down to Venezuela, you go to Uruguay, you go to Peru, Panama, or wherever it is. When you go to the leaders of those countries, all right, those are typically Spaniards or some coon-ass cooner like that they didn't put in there, all right, that's going to rule in the favor of Edomites, all right, and it's a whole lot of small hats throughout, Spanish-speaking small hats throughout South America. And remember that this first slave ships, all right, the slave ships were issues, small hat slave ship owners, right, and they all spoke Spanish. Okay, so remember, so it only makes it right that they would go and mix and mingle and hide themselves among the Israelites down in South America and ensure that their children be the ruling class.
That's right.
Right? What do you think pushed all that, lighting the people up? Better than the nation, Mary White, right? All that bullshit.
And the head of Mexico now.
There's a quote for that, which I always forget.
And it's that mestizo shit, which the Israelite brothers here. They'll tell you all about it. But even the so-called Mexican president right now, her father is a small hatter. But she's mixed a small hatter with Issacharite mama type of descent. And now she looking like an Issacharite is ruling Mexico. But she's not an Issacharite, so-called Mexican. She's actually a small. She's Amalekite. She's a small hatter.
So you know she gonna do it. You know what I mean? In the interest of, you know.
Con, you hold something?
Yeah, I
You
got
still
two.
read something?
Yeah. I'm gonna finish the Psalm 83 that you called for. It says that the name of Israel may be no more remembered. And although people know the name Israel, it's really talking about Yahshua.
Right.
That name is not known on a grand scale, just like the name Yahweh or Yahweh.
And a lot of people, well, now they do, but in the past, people didn't associate the name Israel with so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. But now they do, even though they don't like to acknowledge it. But this is this is where we are. This is the beloved brother from Arrows of Indignation. This is Amos 9 and 11. It says, in that day will I raise up the tabernacles of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build up as it is in the days of old. In the days of old, the house of Judah, which was ruled, of David, was putting a foot in the asses of all of that wicked counsel that he just read about. All right, and it says, Amos 9 and 12, that they may possess the remnant of Edom, and all of the heathen which are called by my name, saith Yahweh that doeth this. So that's heathen that are calling themselves the Lord's chosen.
That's right, brother.
All right, they're not it. Okay, the Lord's chosen wouldn't be a ruling class. All right, and it says Amos 9 and 13, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper. See, we're the plowman. And Matt Walsh and his people, they reap all of our plowing. They get the benefit of it. All right. It says the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes, him that soweth seed, and the mountain shall drop sweet wine in all the hills. So basically, man, the Lord is about to put his foot sideways in you heathen, and especially you Edomites.
Right.
All right. And the change is gonna come.
Yeah, we don't want your apology,
brother. Yeah, we don't want you exactly.
What the fuck they gonna do?
We don't want your apology.
Want
Matter of fact, we want you to talk shit so we can bust you in your motherfucking mouth and knock all the teeth out your mouth.
Hey, that's
and then what I'm gonna do is, because we don't have that powers, I'm gonna put your teeth back in your mouth so I can send you to another brother so he can knock the fucking teeth out of your mouth.
No, all
right, and that shit gonna go. You gonna get passed around like a fucking piece of shit whore. It ain't worth shit. So you can go to every brother's plantation, because you going to a plantation, Matt. All right, and you gonna go to every brother's plantation. You gonna serve slavery. You got 1,000 years to be ran through the man
by these primitive gods.
We gonna find out. We gonna find out who the fuck got the truth, man. While you sit up there lying and try to pretend like you something that you not, man.
By the same set primitive motherfuckers you call primitive. We're gonna show you how primitive your ass is.
No, because this motherfucker done got me heated, man. He done made me mad, man.
You know, Salakia, break out the teeth for the young lion.
That's right.
He gonna look like Elder Malcolm said. Hey, so he called us primitive, right?
Right.
The ancient Maya. Now this AI talking again. I already knew this, so I knew to ask him in the question. I said Mayans had best aqueduct, right? He said the ancient Maya, particularly at sites like Palanuk, developed sophisticated water management systems, including aqueducts, showcasing their engineering skills and understanding of water pressure.
Yep.
All right.
Primitive, right?
So the natives had aqueducts.
That's what they
Look at America. When it rains too hard, the shit comes up on your streets.
Yep.
The shit backs up into your house. Sewage.
Dookie water.
Dookie water.
And that was set up.
That's primitive.
And that was set up by Matt Walsh's people.
Right.
By Elon Musk's people.
Right.
All right. Yeah, your sewers and your streets back up, and the shit that falling from ass comes up into the streets, man.
Yes.
That's the so-called white man. All right. So who's really primitive, man? You murderous, lying, thieving people, man. That's what the fuck you are.
Well, shit, if it wasn't for Gad Reuben, you would just died off.
And even Esau admit that. They admit that when they first came over here, they was on their last motherfucking leg.
They were eating one another. They were the cannibals.
Yes.
They were the savages.
And Gad came out.
Dead bodies and shit.
Told
you
them
know,
how
dig
to-
up graves of people that died so you can eat them.
You know what I'm saying?
And cook them.
Right.
And then Gad will come up to say, no, don't do this. This is how you survive a winter. This is how you skip food. This is how you store your food. This is how you do this. And this is how you do that. You don't know the love that the people of the Heavenly Father have. All right? That's why the Most
I
High.
got another quick point, right?
Go ahead, brother.
In medieval Europe, I also know the type right here. French dumped sewage out window, right? You already knew this. AI goes, in medieval Europe, a common method of waste disposal involved emptying chamber pots out of upstairs windows. This is Esau.
This is why they walked down the street with umbrellas and they wore high heels.
Right.
They wore high heels to keep their feet out of the shit that was on the ground because people threw their piss and shit out the fucking window.
Hey, that's why they call the bathroom the loo. Because with people yelling, Gardez, loo, watch out for the water. So yeah, dump the shit out the window, Gardez, loo, as a warning.
So you gonna throw it and then say it. So niggas get hit with piss and shit. No, fuck that, man. I'm kicking in your door, beating your ass, and right.
As a warning, which eventually became the word loo for toilets. All right?
Gardez, loo.
Gardez, loo.
Whoosh.
Gardez, loo. To warn pedestrians below.
And this is a white this is white basically white superiority at its greatest, right? That's your white superiority right there. That's the truth in your white superiority right there.
Don't monkeys like to sling shit?
Yeah, they do.
No, it was an Edomite. He actually did a video, and he broke down the history because he was like, you know how Esau likes to gloat in his colonization. He basically broke it down like it was basically plague and sickness that weakened the tribes, that would wipe out the majority of the population.
Yeah.
Then Esau would come in and clean up.
Well,
I gotta find it, man.
I'm trying to think of the nigga's name. The nigga from the
God.
past, John Leguizamo.
Yeah.
John Leguizamo did a Netflix special talking about his heritage. He makes me proud of it. He went into how 2/3 of Mexicans died off, like 2/3 of niggas in the Black Plague when Esau came over here.
Yep.
Same thing happened inside over the Israelites. We went through the same thing. 2/3 of the natives died off when they came over to Mexico by plague.
Yep.
And that's how they was able to take them down.
Yep.
That's another way. That's scripture.
Yep.
It says how. Hey, I gotta grab this Deuteronomy. Man,
Except
they rock solid.
Why are you looking for? Can I read this? We want. You got it? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm waiting. I wasn't stopping.
Okay,
I said you the elder. When you said can't read, I said you the elder.
This is if you remember years ago when we were on Van Buren and Adams, the little Edomite chick approached and we was talking to her and everything, and I spoke about, and she's brought up the book Gun Steals and Germs. If you know some of you brothers that were there, and basically it was by Jared Diamond, and it says the fates of human societies, and basically the book is about how Edom was so-called white man, and this is the book that I've desired to have. It was a winner of the Pulitzer Prize, New York Times bestseller. All right, the scope of the explanatory power of the book are astounding. All right, but it was guns, germs, and steel. And on the cover of the book, it shows you natives, it shows you Africans being conquered by Edomites simply by their presence, because they showed up with germs. All right, Esau would come and sneeze on you. Matter of fact, it was even said in writings, I've read it, that there wasn't even a common cold in America.
Exactly.
So when they came over here, they brought the common cold with them. You know when you get a real bad cold, you sick as fuck, you're dizzy, your fucking head is stopped up, either your nose is stopped up or your chest is stopped up, you snotting all over the place. Gad and Reuben was like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
What the
We don't know what the
damn,
hell
this nigga shook my hand. Right. Sneezed on me and this nigga came.
I'm about to die.
Chilling. Damn, right.
They put that in that movie Ace Ventura, when Jim Carrey went over there to Africa. I think it was the second one. And they was like, before white man had no disease, and he sneezed, and he started fucking with him. They got scared, like they was gonna die.
See?
Now,
So and then of course he brought guns. There were the Edomites. I remember watching a video about Edomites that landed at Easter Island. All right, and that group of islands that surround Easter Island. And there was Japhet on those islands, mainly it was Japhites on that island. And when they landed on that island, the first thing they did was start shooting the men with muskets. And then they raped the women, and they left the island, and they left these people full of certain herpes and gonorrhea. That's what they did to the population.
Yeah.
These people, who were completely, not sick. Most of their men were killed off, and then they left the women. Every woman that was the women that didn't hide. Any woman that got caught got raped, and then they left them a gift. And the gift was some of them got impregnated, but they still got herpes and syphilis or gonorrhea. All they
keeps on giving.
Lord. The brother from GMS Melbourne, Australia.
That's your history, Matt Walsh.
That's right.
That's your history, Elon Musk.
They washed that away.
The brother from GMS Melbourne, Australia, put in Khan. That's happened during the time of the Black Plague. BBC News reported that Edomites' bodily fluids is what caused the Black Plague in Europe when they came down from the caves.
That's what weakened us during the Dark Age.
God damn, we're gonna have to expound on that.
Exactly.
I need some
we have to
receipts
do
on that.
Brother, you need to put some receipts up, put some information up.
That BBC News article, brother.
Yeah, you can't come with stuff like that, then not give the information, bro.
You gotta cite it.
You gotta cite it. You gotta bring it. You put a if you can put a source. If you can, Australia, brother Melbourne, put a site, something so we can we'll build off of it through the spirit. Because first of all, we know what Esau's been doing. Matter of fact, right now I had a couple articles. We don't have to go into them because it's already known, but we always go into the receipts. America made all their billions and trillions off of free slave labor. All right. They said every slave back then was worth about damn near $3 billion worth of fucking money, and that's in their time. It goes down to $83 billion. It's like $83 billion per.
They took a large muscular black male, all right, and they would collect them up, right. And they would do two things with them. They would make them do Mandingo fighting, or they would put them. They would basically put them in breeding houses.
Got that too.
And they would. So if you got a big, tall, or muscular ass Jake, what they would do is when they would bring young girls to be breeded by them.
So like sometimes they bring their own mother.
All right.
That's
where you get the term motherfucker from. Because they would put something over their head so they never could see their face. All right. So
they say, well, you can reproduce those genes.
Right.
Yeah, that shit wicked, man.
They had breeding. Some people, Jay, don't even know of how bad slavery was because they don't put it out there. They had, when they say breeding farms, it was an actual plantation that had no fruits, no vegetables. All it was niggas breeding. Other
slaves brought slave women there
to breed niggas.
And they brought men there. It's just like you got guys who breed dogs. They breed pit bulls. They breed Rottweilers. They breed Doberman Pinschers or whatever the breed is.
They find
a fine specimen
and find another fine specimen.
And then they bring them in. And right, it's like I got this male here, right, and he's young and full of seed. So they just keep bringing young girls to him, or even
sisters, mothers,
damsels, women that can still childbear. A woman was fit and muscular, all right, and they would use her, all right, and they will bring her to some muscle bound dude. All right, and then and then they want a whole family of fucking Murphs.
Yes.
All right, and that's what they would do shit like that.
Yes.
To get those genetics. All right. If you're really tall, like like Elder Karab over there, that's what they want. They would take they would use certain things to try to breed perfect slaves, and then because now that breeder. He make money off the other slave owners.
That's it.
And so they would have better slaves or more slaves to present on the market so that they can make money. And those places were closed on Jewish holidays.
Yes. Yeah, that's where your eugenics science comes from.
Right.
So nowadays, you got these places you go pay top dollar, or we can put, you want to go through a pamphlet, you want your child to be what? Well, we can use this firm.
Right.
And you have a better chance of getting this. Eugenics started with them fucking with us, man.
That's why they find that that Edomite forecast Jimmy Greek, he let the cat out the bag. He said that shit crazy.
I got, you had something else? I got that Deuteronomy 32 and 30. How shall one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight, except their rock has sold them and the Lord has shut them up? All right. So in order, everybody knows that so-called Negroes and Native Americans are superior to this devil. But how do we fall? Because the Lord did it.
Exactly.
But their rock is not as our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges. The Lord put them over us. He weakened us. He gave them the power to win the war. Even if the Lord didn't weaken us, the Lord is in control of who wins the wars. He made them take us down. He gave Esau the knowledge of gather gun, to spray Reuben down because Reuben was on their ass. All right. Excellency of strength. They couldn't do nothing with him. So they got the gallon gun. All right. It was just, it is what it is. But like Malcolm said, there is a second part to manifest destiny. It's Isaiah 10. And I get straight to the point. Once I find that point.
Yeah, the point is, we gonna be like that dude in Spartacus shit. Now shall I begin? All right, you know.
Isaiah 10 and 12. Wherefore should come to pass that when the Lord hath performed his whole work upon Mount Zion and Jerusalem, I will punish the fruit of the stout heart, proud, that pride again, of the king of Assyria and the glory of his high looks. And we know this ain't ancient Assyria because Assyria, when it became even Babylon, that became the capital, we went into what? We went into Media Persia, then Greece, then Rome. And also Assyria didn't get destroyed like this mentions here. This is modern Assyria, mystery Babylon, which is America. So once the Lord was done punishing us by you putting your foot up our ass, he's going to punish you, man. That's what times we're coming in. See, it's beautiful you said that. Everything you said, that's scripture. That's what's in the second chapter. Let us leave, our basically, our tokens thank the water. Now, I'm glad we did this. It's a great accomplishment. Of course, you're supposed to say that. I'm glad you said that.
Matter of fact, brother,
Don't make the beat better.
We're gonna actually get close with that. Go ahead, somebody go to Wisdom of Solomon 2, and we read down from like 1 to about 11 and 12. And whatever you got first, brother.
Because the brothers read the Jeremiah about the northern kingdom and southern kingdom being oppressed together, right? And then you talk about mystery Babylon, right? The lands of the north. So let's find out who these people are. This is Jeremiah 3 and 18. In those days, the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north, which is what?
North America.
So obviously, these groups was oppressed together.
And you're not learning this from ISUPK.
Message.
You're not learning this from Israel United in Christianity.
Message.
Right? You're not learning this from Genesis. What you're learning is some rap lyrics from them. All right? Or how to wear a hat, cover your head, and offend the Lord while you're reading the scriptures. That's what you're learning from guys like that.
It says, they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given unto them for inheritance unto their fathers, right? Which is Babylon the Great, man, which is the big mystery. We got oppressed here together. Therefore, the great deliverance is going to be here.
Right. And North America, the land of the north, is the one place, the land of the north, which is America, all right, Babylon, is the one place in the whole world where you're going to find the largest concentration of all 12 tribes. Point blank, period. All right, that's it. Because when you go off into these different lands, it's mostly that tribe, mostly this tribe, mostly that tribe. But here in America, we're all here. All right, which lets you know that we're a numerous multitude that cannot be counted. All right, and only in the 1/3, which is not just here in America, they're gonna get wherever they are on the earth, but the majority of them are going to be here in Babylon, man, in the mystery Babylon, which is America. All right, hands down. All right, whoever got that Wisdom of Solomon, go ahead and go into it.
You're gonna start from the top. Or?
Yeah, start at verse 1 and read down to about 11.
This is Wisdom of Solomon.
Yeah, no, it's in the pictures.
Yeah, but this phone.
Okay.
Have so it's
Okay,
straight to this phone.
I got you. Sure, you know, I'm gonna get it from there and I'm gonna send it to you.
This Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 1. For the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright. Our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy. Neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave.
And that's why they're so proud, because he doesn't realize that he is his forefathers. That this piece of shit, Matt Walsh. You piece of shit, you know, you are your piece of shit forefathers, Matt Walsh. Read.
For we are born at all adventure, and we shall be hereafter as though we had never been. For the breath in our nostrils is as smoke, and a little spark in the moving of our heart. Which being extinguished, our body shall be turned into ashes, and our spirit shall vanish as the soft air.
Right, so that's why often when heathens and the Edomite heathens would burn their bodies in their ashes, and the smoke would rise up into the heavens, and they think they went to the heaven that way, or whatever, wherever the fuck they went to. All right, but go ahead.
Verse 4. And our name shall be forgotten in time.
Right, they know they're temporary. That's why it says Esau has a short time. He know that they're only temporary. They got this rulership for only a certain amount of time.
It says, verse 4, and our name shall be forgotten in time, and no man shall have our works in remembrance, and our life shall pass away as a trace of a cloud.
Which that's going to happen according to Job. All right?
It says, and shall be dispersed as a mist that is driven away with the beams of the sun and overcome with the heat thereof. For our time is a very shadow that passeth away, and after our end there is no returning. For it is fast sealed, so that no man cometh again. Come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the fruit.
What they call it? Your own life.
Right, and that's why he's what? Fracking the earth, using up all the natural resources.
Yeah.
All right?
Indiscriminately. What it do is the devil.
Yeah. He's the son of perdition. Everything he touches, he destroys.
That's
He says his desire is like hell. He cannot have enough. So that's why when you read the POV or the point of view of the wicked in his Wisdom of Solomon, second chapter, Esau is really psychotic. He's really testing the Lord. Why in the fuck would I? Let me just beat this nigga ass. Let me see if he's the son of a super god.
Hold on. The son of the creator of everything.
That's pride.
Nigga, you lost your fucking mind.
That's the theory.
You're right.
Hypothesis, right?
Let's see if it's true. What? Why would you even try? Why would you play with fire like that?
You're gonna be crowned king of fuck around and find out.
Right.
You're gonna keep fucking around and you're about to find out, man.
And then said, is this he who we had in derision?
That's right.
Then you read the Wisdom of Solomon 5, this is
This is the same.
Right.
Surely we didn't look for this.
Right.
These are the sons of God, them?
Right.
Yeah, nigga, you put it to the test.
No,
You
man.
tried it. Yeah.
But that's prophecy. That's prophecy. Go ahead.
It happened to many of your forefathers, all right? This one I can think of, Antiochus. After you put great hell on us, you walked so pridefully in the earth, you found out that, hey, it's not good that man should magnify himself against the living God.
And that's the problem. That's a great point, because when Epiphanes got fucked up, he told his son to honor us. He wanted to play cool. Then you give back down to either his grandson or great grandson, whatever it was back on our ass. We forgot. So whatever Esau to set up, they didn't put in the notes that, well, eventually God is gonna fuck you up.
Exactly.
They didn't put that in the notes. They knew this. But like Antiochus, he made sure his son knew. They forgot to let them know.
It's like the dude from Judas. He said, "Now if they sin against their power."
Right, but it's even in the Willie Lynch letter, he said that we can do this for 500 to 1,000 years, if not forever. And then he put in the one caveat: unless a phenomenon comes and stops it. That phenomenon is Yahweh.
He didn't put the notes. He ain't told the phenomenon.
Okay, he will break down the phenomenon. Something like a phenomenon.
Right.
I'm seriously about to make me go pull up the quote.
This is Wisdom of Solomon.
Shit, this is a phenomenon. Us
Right,
waking up.
right.
Hey, us. They never thought niggas would just like the apostle gave the account, the dude jumping out the limousine while they was out teaching. How did you find this out? We spent billions to hide this from you.
They hear me, though.
Right.
Learn
So,
how to read.
right, you niggas, you low level niggas that figured it out. You know what I mean? What the fuck? You know,
Nah.
stupid. You didn't think
Hey,
you didn't.
remember when the dude in the Bentley pulled over when we were teaching? He
Yeah.
hopped out his Bentley,
Yeah.
and he was like, "This is absolutely true."
Yeah.
This man in a fucking Bentley, man, with a driver, with a young girl who wasn't his daughter. All right, he hopped out his Bentley, all right, to come on the street and talk to us.
Yeah.
All right, and we were on Van Buren. Yeah, and he was like, "This is absolutely true. This is the truth." Okay, all right. With the other kind, you can't. And when that lady from France, when we were on Adams, rolled up and she said, "I learned this in grade school. I haven't seen it since I was in grade school."
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she saw the 12 tribe sign. And so for you scoffers out there, the 12 tribe sign is false. So that's all you got to say.
Right.
You're looking ass. Stupid. All right. The Bible, the awakening of the Israelites come with a sign. Nobody produced it except us.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The Christians didn't produce it. Sakari didn't produce it.
Message.
All right. No, you know, ISUPK, they look, the sign, or should I say the Israelites, are the ones who produced the damn sign, man. The Christianity didn't produce it.
Message.
The Jewish people, Judaism didn't produce it.
Nature is on.
That's a part
Yes.
of the awakening of the end day prophecy.
Right.
Somebody would come on earth and produce the 12 signs. So for you people who speak against it,
Right.
all right,
They speak against prophecy.
you speaking against prophecy. It was prophesied that somebody would come and say, this is the 12 signs, and the people would ask, what are these? What is this all about?
And those people that come with the 12, the sign will be revealing who the wicked is.
Exactly.
At the same time.
So there it is, man.
Beware the beast, man. They knew you know what I'm saying?
Violent
So now this goes, now he called us primitive, right? He called us uncivilized. Well, this is the same rhetoric that his forefathers spoke, right? This is out of the Willie Lynch letters. It says, and this is on page 20, and this is out of the heading of the breaking process of the African woman, all right? Because that's how they got us, is through the women, right? But it says this is the mindset. He said continually through the breaking of uncivilized, so-called primitive, savage niggers by throwing the nigger female savage into a frozen psychological state of independency, by killing the protective male image, and by creating a submissive, dependent mind of the nigger male slave, we have created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever, unless a phenomenon occurs and reshifts the positions of the male and female savages. So Edom said, we can do this forever unless a phenomenon occurs and reshifts the positions of the male and female
big
savages.
LLs
Yep.
hit something like a phenomenon. Yeah.
Oh.
And the phenomenon has came.
That's it.
All right. The Israelites have awakened.
That's right.
All right.
And now they're scared. Now they're greatly afraid.
Fine. Is there more to that, brother? Keep reading while he's looking up whatever.
This is Wisdom of Solomon 2 and 7. Continuing, it says, "Let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass by us." This is again continuing that ungodly reason.
Hey, they stock markets. They greedy. That's what the oil and wine goes into. Shit. Go ahead.
Verse 8.
The whole thing, Revelations 18. You know what they're sitting there. Go ahead.
Verse 8, "Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they be withered. Let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness. Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place, for this is our portion, and our lot is this."
And that's why you see everywhere you go a statue of this, a statue of
Psalm 64.
yeah. You know they leave all these relics and tokens from all these heathens in all these places, man. All right, go ahead.
It says, "Let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the age. Let our strength be the law of justice."
And that's what we get to, because that's what that proud piece of shit, Matt Walsh, was saying. he would not apologize because they let their strength be the law of justice, not righteousness, not fairness, not truth, but our strength. All right. So they use their germs, their steel, all right, and their guns to conquer a people who was very peaceable and were not savages at all. And were sitting on gold and silver.
Just like
and
Columbus
land
said.
and right, and said, man, these people are right for the picking.
Yeah. So we just get 50 men with swords and we can go subjugate them all.
Yeah. But by that time, they had already been beaten. You know, it's the same thing with the Southern Kingdom, the Black Plague that wiped out 2/3 of us in Europe. All right, and another plague wiped out the Northern Kingdom over here, and then Esau came in with the cleanup crew. All right, so you didn't get America. It was the blessing of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. You got America. You didn't get America by valor,
by your own power.
Might. Yeah. You didn't do that, man.
It wasn't honorable.
It wasn't honorable.
I say something, and he had to prove.
But they try to make it honorable so badly, like that fraudulent speech that he gave.
Yeah.
All right. Matter of fact, can we play that?
Yeah,
matter of fact, let's you know what?
Because
Benji asked about it because we were just so mad.
We talked about it too, but
you know, we'll do that and then we'll wrap. But we need to let the audience hear how proud this piece of shit Edomite was. You know.
I said, well,
where is it at? I gotta pull it back.
Esau had to recruit Israelites to bring down the Israelites.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah. That's how he beat. He used Judah. He used the buffalo soldiers to a weakened.
Is our civilization one that we should be proud of, even in spite of its history of conquest? No, not in spite of that history. I'm proud of it in large part because of that history. It is one of the great triumphs of all time that our forefathers had to first conquer an ocean in order to then land on a giant mass of uncharted wilderness filled with untold dangers and wild beasts and, yes, primitive warring tribes, many of whom practiced human sacrifice and cannibalism, and who, if they captured you, would torture you for fun and rape your wife and children before killing you, maybe eating your internal organs and taking your family as their property. And yet, in the face of those unimaginable horrors, our forefathers and ancestors conquered this entire hemisphere and settled it and single-handedly dragged it out of the Stone Age and built from the wilderness the greatest civilization the world had ever known. Am I proud of that? Yes, I am. Now,
okay, you can stop right there. That was enough. So that was total projection. And if they captured you, they ate your internal organs, pulled them out of the Dark Ages. And so just all the history and all the evidence we just gave you, he just whitewashed the shit out of it to justify the murderous rampage that was done unethically by his people.
Killed all buffalo just
right.
But hey, like you just said, it was a triumph. So you raped, robbed, killed a nation of people before they went in. Then how did you make the nation good? You put Judah and other tribes into slavery and made this country rich. They proud of it. He flat out said it. He's the Edomite. That's what he's supposed to say, man.
Yep. So real quick.
But all the hard, the native tribes eating and doing all this terrible shit. Esau does the same thing. Rape, rob, murder, and eat fucking people.
Yep.
Right. So can I get Colossians 3:25, Galatians 6:7, and then Revelation 18:6.
Can somebody get those real quick? I got something on deck. This is Deuteronomy 19:14. Thou shalt not remove the neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in thine inheritance, which thou shalt inherit in the land that the Lord thy power giveth thee to possess it. The Most High said, you don't have a right to come say, oh, I stumbled across this primitive society. Oh, I happened to see some land over here with some peoples here. The Lord said, remove not the landmark. As soon as you go there and you put your shit up, you now have to fight with the Lord. And the Most High is coming for you.
Go back to Colossians.
I got Colossians chapter 3, verse 25. But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he has done.
Perfect.
And there is no respect of persons. Esau. So it's good that you're boasting. The scriptures say you would speak loftily concerning oppression. So you're supposed to do these things because, like the saint said, that make the ass whooping most sweeter. What?
And what you say is no respect of person.
No respect
We
of
don't
person.
care who you are.
That's right.
That's
That's
Galatians 6 and 7. Be not deceived, the Most High is not mocked. Whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. So simply put, he that wants to captivity must go into captivity.
That's right.
He that killed with the sword must be killed with the sword. We're gonna get our revenge, man. We're gonna get double.
That's right.
Ooh. Oh, it's
Revelations
Lord allowed you to
18
do all
and
this
6.
thing. No, Lord allowed you to do all this just because Lord can't bring judgment on you for no reason. He allowed you to do all this shit.
Stack your shit up.
Stack your shit up. So you can't earn that though.
You gotta earn that judgment.
Earn
That's
that,
like
boy.
the scriptures talk about how the iniquity of the Amorites wasn't fulfilled yet.
Exactly.
So the judgment, so the Lord waited. It took 400 years for them niggas to deserve that motherfucking punishment that he wanted to put on them. So it's taking all this time for you to. The Lord is allowing you to do this so you can get to that motherfucking point to deserve that erratic, that 1,000 years of hardcore foot up your ass, and at the end of it all, eradication, nigga.
That's
you gotta deserve that double.
That's right.
Probably got Revelation 18.
Revelations 18 and 6. Reward her even as she rewarded you,
Message.
and double unto her double according to her works.
So you hear that, Matt? You're gonna get double of what you did. All right, double. There's nowhere. So we did Colossians.
Yeah, we read the Colossians. I read the Galatians.
So yeah.
So
So
finish this last part.
Bible.
It says, "In the cup," because that's the important part.
Yeah.
In the cup which she had filled to her double.
Okay, so good. One last one. Revelation 13, 9 and 10.
Yeah, it's
Bible
Revelations 13.
That's the end book chapter. This is what happens in the end. All right. So since you're so proud of slavery and colonization,
Keep that same
All right.
energy.
keep
That's
that
right.
energy,
That
homie.
same energy.
Yeah, we're gonna be proud of doing it back to your ass. No,
Times two. Minus the gay shit.
Yeah, right. Minus the
We're
gay
gonna
shit.
find something
Because we didn't even speak on that. All the more things you did. But go ahead.
Right. Revelations 13 and 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints.
So the saints of the Lord are suffering. That's what patient means. That's patiently suffering, waiting to enslave and put to the sword Matt Walsh and his family and his children, his family, his people, all right, for what they did to our people. Thus saith the Bible, not me.
That's right.
Once again, thus saith the Bible, not me. One last one. Isaiah 21.
Oh,
Bible shop. You already know what I want. Prepare slaughter.
iniquity 14 and 21. Oh, boy. This is Isaiah 14th chapter.
This is the punishment to colonizers who enjoy manifest destiny. This is part 2. All right. This is part 2 to manifest destiny right here.
That was cool,
Message.
This is Isaiah 14 and 21. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their father.
Can we get it in the NLT as well?
I got you right here.
Oh, you got it. Go ahead.
Kill this man's children.
Kill.
Damn. Say that again.
It's a lock it.
Isaiah, this is out of the Holy Bible, right?
Which version of Bible that is?
That's what it says in my book. This
What
Isaiah.
trick Bible is that you got?
Hey, remember, Benji, this is what it says in my book. Isaiah 14:21. Kill this man's children. Let them die because of the father's sins. They must not rise and conquer the earth, filling the world with their cities.
Ain't gonna be no more Edom having their own land. Every other nation after 1,000 years of slavery, you get your land back. We still gonna rule over you, but you can go to your own land. Esau, you don't get a land. All right, you're gonna die. All your bloodline's gonna be eradicated. It says give you double. What did you try to do? Commit genocide against us. What's gonna happen to you? An actual genocide.
Turn upon your own head.
Ain't gonna be no crumbs left. Ain't gonna be no token fucking Edomite.
They said fly away as a dream.
That's right. GMS Melbourne, Australia, put the AMP version of that Isaiah 14:21. Prepare a slaughtering place for his sons because of the wickedness, the sin, the injustice, the wrongdoing of their fathers. They must not rise and take possession of the earth and fill the face of the world with cities. And I don't care what version you look at it, the Lord is saying, destroy you wicked. people. All right. I don't care if it's the AMP, the NLT, the NIV, the KJV, the KK New Den. I don't give a fuck. The Lord is coming back for judgment. All right.
Yeah. So it's over for you. You know, Matt Walsh. Enjoy your last moments, man.
That's it.
All right, and enjoy your gloating and your pride, and maybe your buddy, Assistant President Musk, will allow you to run to his shelter with him. All right, so that because the Bible promises that that you wealthy elites will be the first fruits of slavery. Thus said the Bible.
Right.
Because you're gonna get pulled out of the clefts in the rocks and the holes in the ground, which is talking about your luxury
bunkers.
All right, so you dug into the sides of the earth and under the sea and all that shit. All right, so you're gonna get pulled out of that. All right, and you're gonna be the first fruits of slavery. So, Lord's will, I will see you in slavery. Call along your how about you now, Rashad, Bam Yasharala,
Turn those machines.
It's my turn now.
I can't wait to get that motherfucker.